The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of Providence Municipal Court, casting long shadows across the polished wooden benches. It was 2:15 p.m. on an ordinary Tuesday, the kind of day when routine cases move through the system with predictable efficiency. Judge Frank Caprio, a seasoned jurist known throughout Rhode Island for his blend of compassion and unwavering respect for legal protocol, prepared to hear his next case. What seemed like a simple parking violation was about to become something far more significant. A lesson in respect, humility, and the boundaries between personal importance and civic responsibility. Case number 13492. Jessica Chen. Parking violation in a designated handicapped space. The bailiff's voice echoed through the courtroom as a young woman in her mid-20s approached the podium. Jessica Chen carried herself with the casual confidence of digital age success. Her designer athletic wear suggested both affluence and the perpetual motion of someone always en route to the next appointment. Most notably, she had wireless earbuds in place and her attention fixed on the smartphone in her hand, fingers scrolling through what appeared to be social media content. She moved toward the bench without looking up, still absorbed in her screen. Judge Caprio observed this entrance with the practiced eye of someone who had seen thousands of defendants approach his bench. He waited a moment, then spoke with his characteristic patience. "Good afternoon, Ms. Chen. Please put your phone away and remove your earbuds." Jessica glanced up with visible annoyance, as though interrupted from something important. She removed one earbud slowly, reluctantly sliding the phone into her jacket pocket. But her body language communicated volumes, the constant weight shifting from foot to foot, eyes darting toward the wall clock, audible sighs that suggested every second here was a second wasted. This was not the demeanor of someone prepared to engage respectfully with judicial proceedings. Judge Caprio began his standard explanation, his voice calm and methodical. "Ms. Chen, you've been cited for parking in a handicapped accessible space without proper authorization. The standard fine for this violation is $350. This is considered a serious offense because these designated spaces serve individuals with disabilities who—" I know, Jessica interrupted, her tone sharp with impatience. "Can we just do this quickly? I have really important things to do today." The courtroom, previously filled with the ambient sounds of quiet conversation and shuffling papers, fell silent. Several people in the gallery exchanged glances. Anyone familiar with Judge Caprio knew that interrupting him was not merely impolite. It was unwise. The judge paused, setting down his pen with deliberate care. His expression shifted subtly, but perceptibly. "Ms. Chen, I understand you may have other commitments today, but this court proceeding requires your full attention and respect. As I was explaining, handicapped parking violations carry significant consequences because—" "Yeah, I get it," she cut him off again. "Look, I already admitted I parked there. I was only inside for maybe 2 minutes. Can I just pay the fine and leave?" Judge Caprio's voice took on a firmer quality, the patience giving way to something more authoritative. "Ms. Chen, I need you to stop interrupting me. I am attempting to explain the nature of your violation and provide you an opportunity to present any circumstances that might be relevant to this case." Jessica's response was a visible eye roll, an unmistakable gesture of disrespect that did not go unnoticed by anyone in the courtroom. She pulled her phone out again, glancing at the screen. "Your Honor, with all respect, I don't have any special circumstances to present. I parked illegally. I'll pay the fine. But I really do need to leave. I have a brand partnership meeting at 3 o'clock and a content shoot scheduled for 4:30. Put the phone away." Judge Caprio's voice cut through the courtroom with unexpected sharpness. Jessica complied, but her frustration was palpable, her expression making clear that she viewed this entire proceeding as an unreasonable imposition on her valuable time. "Can we please just move this along?" she asked. What happened next would become the turning point of the entire proceeding. Judge Caprio set down his pen completely and looked directly at the young woman before him. His gaze was steady, assessing, and entirely focused. Ms. Chen, do you understand the purpose of handicapped parking spaces? Yes. They're for disabled people. I understand that. I made a mistake. Her voice carried an edge of exasperation. But seriously, I have really important obligations today, and this is taking forever. The judge leaned back slightly in his chair, studying her with an expression that had shifted from patient to profoundly concerned. Really important things, he repeated slowly. More important than this court proceeding. I mean, I have business commitments. People are waiting for me. I can't just sit here all afternoon. Ms. Chen, what exactly do you do for a living? I'm an influencer, a social media content creator. I have 600,000 followers across multiple platforms. I see. And you mentioned a brand meeting today? Yes, exactly. A major partnership opportunity. It's extremely time-sensitive, so if we could just— No. The single word stopped her mid-sentence. Judge Caprio's voice carried a weight that filled the courtroom. We're not rushing through this proceeding because you need to understand something fundamental about where you are right now. Jessica's carefully maintained composure began to crack. Her impatience burst through. Your Honor, I'm trying to be respectful here, but I literally told you I'll pay the fine. What else do you want from me? I have a business to run. People depend on me. I have content deadlines, brand deals on the line. This is my livelihood we're talking about. Judge Caprio's response came with the cold precision of someone who had heard enough. And this, Ms. Chen, is a court of law, not a drive-through window, not a place where you get to dictate the pace of proceedings, not somewhere you interrupt a judge because you have really important things to do. I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but you are being disrespectful. His voice was ice. You've interrupted me 4 separate times. You've checked your phone twice after being explicitly told to put it away. You've rolled your eyes at judicial instruction. You've made it abundantly clear through every gesture and word that you believe your schedule is more important than these proceedings. Jessica's face flushed red. That's not what I meant. I have professional obligations. Judge Caprio stood up, something he rarely did, and a gesture that immediately commanded the complete attention of everyone present. The courtroom fell into absolute silence. Ms. Chen, let me ask you a direct question. Do you believe American courts are serious institutions? She hesitated, finally sensing the danger in this moment. Yes, of course. Then, why are you treating this courtroom like an inconvenience? Like something to rush through so you can return to your really important things? I'm not trying to. Look, Your Honor, in my world, timing is everything. If I miss this meeting, I lose a $50,000 brand deal. If I'm late to my shoot, I have to reschedule with 10 different people. My time literally translates to money. It was the wrong answer. Catastrophically wrong. Judge Caprio's expression hardened into something formidable. Your time is money, I see. Ms. Chen, let me tell you precisely what your problem is. You believe that because you have 600,000 followers and lucrative brand deals, you're somehow more important than the legal system. You believe your content deadlines matter more than respecting judicial authority. That's not what I'm saying. That is exactly what you're saying. With every sigh, every eye roll, every interruption, every glance at your phone, you're communicating one message. Judge, I'm too important for this. Hurry up so I can get back to my real life. Jessica realized, too late, that she had made a serious miscalculation. Your Honor, I apologize if I seemed disrespectful. Judge Caprio interrupted her this time. Ms. Chen, you didn't seem disrespectful. You were disrespectful. And here's what concerns me most. You parked in a handicapped space, a space specifically reserved for individuals with disabilities who genuinely need accessible parking, because it was convenient for you. And now you're treating this court with the same attitude. Everything revolves around your convenience. The courtroom was riveted. No one moved. No one whispered. Everyone understood they were witnessing something significant. Judge Caprio continued, his voice carrying the weight of decades on the bench. You said people depend on you, that your livelihood is at stake. Let me tell you about the person who couldn't park in that handicapped space because you occupied it. Perhaps they depend on accessible parking to maintain their independence. Perhaps their livelihood depends on being able to access buildings safely. But you decided your 2 minutes of convenience mattered more than their needs. Jessica's eyes began to water. Her voice trembled slightly. I didn't think about it that way. That's the problem, Ms. Chen. You didn't think. You acted out of pure self-interest. And you're demonstrating the same behavior right now in my courtroom. Judge Caprio sat back down and opened his computer, typing deliberately while the courtroom waited in tense silence. Ms. Chen, the standard fine for a handicapped parking violation is $350. That's what you came here expecting to pay. However, we're no longer dealing with a standard proceeding. Jessica's voice shook. What do you mean? I mean you've demonstrated contempt for this court through your behavior. Under Rhode Island General Law 12-17-1, I have the authority to hold individuals in contempt when they obstruct or interrupt judicial proceedings or show disrespect for judicial authority. Her face went pale. Contempt? You interrupted me 4 times. You used your phone after being instructed not to. You rolled your eyes at judicial instruction. You made it unmistakably clear that you believe your brand meeting is more important than this court's proceedings. Your Honor, I apologize. I was wrong. I'll be respectful, please. Ms. Chen, here's what's going to happen. Your fine remains $350 for the parking violation. However, for contempt of court, I'm ordering you to spend 1 hour in a holding cell. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Jessica's mouth fell open in shock. 1 hour in jail? For what? For disrespecting this court, for repeatedly interrupting a judge, for making it clear through your actions that you don't take American judicial proceedings seriously. But my meeting, my brand deal, I'll lose $50,000. Judge Caprio's expression didn't soften by a millimeter. Ms. Chen, you just proved my point perfectly. Your first concern isn't that you showed contempt for the legal system. Your first worry is that you might lose money. That tells me everything I need to know. Please, Your Honor, I can't do this. My whole schedule. Your schedule is about to have a 1 hour interruption. Bailiff, please escort Ms. Chen to a holding cell. She'll be released in exactly 1 hour. Jessica's composure completely shattered. Wait, can I call someone? Can I reschedule my meeting? You may make one phone call from the holding cell. But Ms. Chen, here's what I want you to understand during that hour. Where you are right now, in this courtroom, facing consequences for your actions, this is more important than any brand deal. More important than any content shoot. More important than anything on your social media calendar. Because this is about the rule of law. This is about respect for the institutions that hold civil society together. This is about learning that your follower count doesn't exempt you from basic human decency and respect for others. The bailiff approached. Jessica was crying now, mascara beginning to run. Your Honor, please. I understand now. I was wrong. I'll pay any fine you want. Just please don't make me... 1 hour, Ms. Chen. Use it to think about priorities, about what actually matters, about the difference between importance and self-importance. She was led away, sobbing, past rows of observers watching in stunned silence. Jessica Chen spent 60 minutes in a holding cell. It wasn't a dangerous environment, simply a small, bare room with a bench and concrete walls. But for someone whose entire life revolved around constant connectivity, constant validation, and constant content creation, it was devastating. Her phone was confiscated. No Instagram, no TikTok, no responding to direct messages, no filming content. Just silence, solitude, and the crushing weight of what had just happened. She made her one permitted phone call, informing her manager she would miss the meeting. She contacted the brand representative, claiming a family emergency, carefully avoiding any mention of court or jail. Then she sat in silence for the remaining time. 60 minutes can feel like an eternity when you're forced to confront your own behavior without any distractions. When the bailiff finally opened the door, announcing she was free to go, Jessica walked back into the courtroom, a different person than the one who had left it. Her makeup was ruined, her eyes were red, and her phone remained confiscated until she left the building. Judge Caprio had her brought to the podium one final time. "Ms. Chen, you've served your hour. How do you feel?" Her voice was small, broken. "Horrible, Your Honor. Embarrassed. Ashamed." "Good. Because perhaps that means you learned something, did you?" "Yes." The tears came again. "I was so disrespectful. I treated this court like it didn't matter. Like my brand deals and followers made me more important than the law. And I was completely wrong." Judge Caprio's voice softened slightly, though it remained firm and authoritative. "Ms. Chen, you're 26 years old. You've built a substantial following, created a business, and achieved a measure of success. That's admirable. But success means nothing if it comes packaged with arrogance. If it makes you believe rules don't apply to you." "I know. I'm so sorry." "You parked in a handicapped space because it was convenient. You disrespected this court because you were busy. In both instances, you put yourself first without considering consequences or other people. That's a character problem, Ms. Chen, not a scheduling problem." She nodded, unable to speak through her tears. "The $350 fine still stands. You have 30 days to pay. And Ms. Chen, I better never see you in my courtroom again for contempt. Because next time it won't be 1 hour. It will be a weekend. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I'm so sorry." Jessica left the courthouse 3 hours later than planned. Her entire carefully orchestrated day lay in ruins. The brand meeting had been rescheduled. The content shoot had been canceled. Her perfectly planned influencer schedule was destroyed. But something unexpected happened that evening. Instead of posting her usual curated content, Jessica posted something radically different: a tear-stained selfie with an unusually long, raw caption. "Today I learned the hardest lesson of my life. I disrespected a judge because I thought my brand deals were more important than the legal system. I was completely wrong. Judge Frank Caprio gave me 1 hour in a holding cell to think about my priorities. It was the best hour of my life. I'm sorry to everyone I've disrespected by acting like my success made me special. It doesn't. Humility restored. Lesson learned." The post went viral. Not the calculated, sponsored virality she was accustomed to, but something different. Raw viral. Real viral. Authentic viral. Comments flooded in. Respect for admitting this publicly. "Judge Caprio doesn't play around. You learned a real lesson today. More influencers need this reality check." 2 weeks later, Jessica received an unexpected message from the brand she'd missed the meeting with. They had seen her post. They respected her honesty and vulnerability. They wanted to reschedule the partnership at an even higher rate, because her authentic content about the experience had performed better than her usual posts. 6 months later, Jessica was still an influencer, still creating content, still successful. But she was different, more humble, more respectful, more aware that follower counts don't exempt anyone from basic decency and civic responsibility. In an interview, someone asked her, "What's the most important thing that ever happened to your career?" Her answer came without hesitation. Getting put in jail for an hour by Judge Caprio. It sounds crazy, but it's absolutely true. Jessica Chen walked into court believing her schedule mattered most. She left 3 hours late, 1 hour poorer, and infinitely wiser. Judge Caprio proved that courtrooms don't care about follower counts, brand deals, or content calendars. They care about respect, about taking responsibility, about understanding that legal proceedings aren't inconveniences. They're the foundation of civilized society. This is what happens when professional success becomes an excuse for disrespect, and when one judge reminds a young woman that where she's standing, in a court of law, is more important than anywhere else she thinks she needs to be. Jessica learned the most valuable lesson of her influencer career. You can have 600,000 followers, but in a courtroom, you're just another citizen who must show respect like everyone else. The question that lingers, was 1 hour in jail too harsh, or exactly what she needed? The evidence suggests the latter. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the most uncomfortable moments. Sometimes growth requires discomfort. And sometimes, the best thing that can happen to someone who has lost perspective is to be reminded, firmly, clearly, and memorably, that success never exempts us from the basic requirements of human decency. In Judge Caprio's courtroom that Tuesday afternoon, justice was served not just through a fine, but through a lesson that money cannot buy, the lesson of humility, respect, and the understanding that true importance isn't measured in followers, but in character.